It's Wednesday, January 28th. Would you believe? And you've been serenaded by Epidemic Sound Instrumental. Yeah. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. Too much talking this morning. We got Epidemic is in the background to keep the streaming. Streaming is like on the internet is like water going through a hose. You want to make sure there's always something going through the hose. We got a lot of video, you know that. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on here. I mean, it's unbelievable. I have a bunch of cables going behind here. When you look at it as one piece, you say, oh my God, what kind of an electrical engineer did you bring up to do this? Well, I have a team of 3, me, myself, and I. So, myself is in charge of video, me is in charge of everything else. And I do the talking. Lucky me. Yeah, and it's, what do we got going here? It's 70.3 degrees in my little 100 square foot studio. It feels like 65 degrees in here, but it says 70.3, and it's the sensor is right there. You can just see it on the edge of your screen. You see 70. Relative humidity is 48. But when I get done with this broadcast, the relative humidity will be 65% because of all the hot air I blow out of here. And outside our balcony, it's 66.9. Whoops, it just updated 67.1. It went up 0.2 of a degree. 51% humidity. I mean, it's amazing, these sensors and things. It's just a little thing I velcroed onto the outside of my sliding glass window. A 300-pound sliding glass window that is supposed to be tolerant to 150 mile an hour winds. Yeah, it's a big ass heavy. I tell you, you could tell when you tug that. It's on some amazing rollers, and when you pull on that handle, I know it's got to be 300 pounds. It takes 2 people, 2 strong, relatively strong adults, men, service technicians, because they took the window off because the track was dirty and it was too, I mean, the wheels and everything just disintegrated. So they put a new track down, they put new wheels and lubricated it and got it all balanced, and I mean, it slides real nice now. But you got to give it a tug. That sucker is heavy. Big time. Yeah. So, what's new and exciting? Well, part of what's new and exciting, epidemic is a little loud. I can't hear myself think. Whatever that means. Here we go. You can hear it. I'm opening up my secret envelope, and I have Mega Millions. I have a Mega Millions ticket, yep. And the official printout of all the lottery stuff. And you can see I got the lottery balls right print screened right off the see how it goes on that way. I'll put that right in there. Seal that baby back up. I haven't checked to see if I've won anything. The odds of winning anything serious are, like 10,000 to 1 or some crazy number. So I don't think of Mega Millions as an investment, because the odds of losing are 22 to 1 in favor of losing. So you only have 1 out of 23 chance of winning anything. You pay $5 a ticket and you may get back something. You likely won't. You can go 22, if you buy a ticket, you can go 22 weeks in a row and never hit anything. So it's, it's getting, what the hell, $5, you pay for it, and what the hell? You can't win if you don't do it. So that's part of the problem. Let's see. Let's turn that. Let's see if we can get the maximum view here. I've updated 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think I've updated all my devices here. Apple has come out with a new update to their iOS 16 point whatever. Let me show you. Software update. I am up to date with iOS 26.3. The third beta version of that, by the way. I go back, press About. There you go, 26.3 version. 26.3 in brackets 23D 5114 small d. Just to be perfectly clear. And they give you all kinds of there's a whole, they work, 2 weeks with all kinds of things. It's like a 17-page report on what they've actually done to an update. And the coding is really, it's military grade coding. Because there's so many badasses out there trying to, make it lousy for everybody, right? It's terrible that we have a global society. It's not just the wackos in the United States, and we got plenty of our own wackos, as you well know. Yeah, we got lots of crazy people. I don't get it. What the big thrill is on lousing up society. Can't you just, hey, look at this. I need to close this in a little so everyone can see the whole wide angle. There's a wide angle picture. Well, I got a boom mic that's stretched all the way across. And there's Jimmy with his FAU jacket because it's so cold in here. Now, since then, this was 21:01:26 at 12:40 p.m. That's noon, and this is a picture right off the digital camera that's streaming the video, which you can. It's the same camera. I have it in a slightly different position, and since then I've enhanced the hardware, and here is a there is this was taken with my iPhone, my trusty iPhone. Now you can see on here is the old picture. That's interesting, huh? I got a picture with a picture in a picture. And instead of that microphone, I have this SM7B. It's got a little, you can see some dusticules on there, which I just snapped off. That is a magical instrument right here. This Shure, S-H-U-R-E, SM7B, like in boy. This is the most popular podcasting microphone you see. I mean, it's spread around like wildfire because some of the best engineer minds, including yours truly, have selected this device. I mean, it's about 8 inches long. Make that 9 inches tip to tip. And this has all got stuff inside, and this has got a nice foam exterior to the capsule that's about a 1/4 inch underneath this foam. There's a 1/4 inch on the end all the way around. I have seen someone actually pull this foam off, with the idea of replacing the foam because it got nicked and, whatever happens to acoustical foam. It's not cheap. I mean, it's probably $25 for this stupid piece of foam. So take care of your foam and don't spin on it. That's the microphone. See, I've just expanded that. You can see Shure, S-C-H-U-R-E. The SM7B is written on the other side. You can just believe me on that. There we go. How about that for a little, this is my sound thing over here. Rode, see, R-O-D-E. This is a Rode, Rodecast Duo. It has 2 inputs. I'm trying to do an expando on this picture. There's extra pair of glasses. This first slider on the very left side controls my voice until you can't hear it. There you go. And I've designed it so all the way up to the top. So there's another way of controlling that. So I just slide it all the way up. I don't have to worry about, these little markings. And I just, I have the microphone about 6 inches away from my big mouth. And the second one, which is shown all the way in the down position, this is Epidemic Sound Instrumental, and that is designed to be right about there. And you can hear the music in the background. It's nice, it's a 3-hour soundtrack. It's royalty free, so I'm allowed to include it as noise in my system. And anyway, I just took this picture. Let's lift up on the picture. There we go. And you can see that it was taken Wednesday, January 28th, which is today, at 8:36 a.m. That's the nice thing about, let's put a caption on here. STUDIO in quotations mark 812, also known as Cafe 812. But just because, just because we've now added a caption. And here is where I took the picture from. And where is that? Plaza Real, 8 stories above Sea Chops. There you go. And we can go 3D. But we want to go satellite, of course. I don't know why it defaults to something else. There you go. There's our building. There's me. See, I'm right here. So we're looking down on this. There we go. Isn't this amazing? This three-dimensional stuff. There's the street. So I'm not the top balcony. I'm the balcony right underneath the top balcony. Looking right up here. I'm right there. If you can kind of see where I'm got my finger right on it. This is not a touch screen, so I can wheel. I'm right there. Right there. Yeah. You can kind of get the idea. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to swing around. This is like riding around in a in a helicopter, or and if we shrink it enough, there we go. Then you can see the buildings that are on the ocean, and we can go right over here, and there's the beach. We can look down on the beach. We can look out on the ocean. That's Palmetto Park Road. It dead ends right into this this circular driveway doodad. You can go down here a ways and go in and park. They have a big parking thing all buried in those trees. And we go in there. We have a annual pass we pay $80 for, and that allows us to get in this park, a number of these beach parking lots. And we park our car. Let's see if I can pull that down. See, there's parking in there, buried in the trees. So we tend to park right in there, and we can walk right in here, and that allows, or right in this thing, and that allows us to walk right through this walkway, and then come up right into here, and I stay underneath this shed, which holds 75 people or so, and then Marilyn goes down to the beach. Since she is Native American, she can stand the sun. Dr. Strasser, my good friend and skin cancer specialist extraordinaire, along with being a world-class plastic surgeon, which I've not had any because You don't like it, don't look at it. Yeah, but he does magical work. For his office is always full of people. And here I'm coming back to oh yeah, here I am. You see, I'm right on the edge of the Boca Hotel. Where is the Boca Hotel? There it is. That big building is right there. It is. Right down in there, in the middle of your screen. Marilyn and I got married right in there 45 years ago. Would you believe? And yep. Now we live in this building, right? It looks right over this hotel. Can you believe it? We can see it right outside. They got these. Let's get oriented again. Yeah. They got these buildings. See how the buildings are? These two big buildings. Well, from my balcony, I look straight through those buildings. There's like a break in the two buildings. And I can see the Boca Hotel fills up this space that you see between the buildings. We look right through that lookway. It's like it was designed. So you look out the balcony, you know exactly where you got married 45 years ago. And here we are, we're right back there. We lived in Miami, then we went to Tampa, then we came back to Boca Raton, and lived in El Floresta, and now we got out of the house that was underneath a 5,500 square foot roof. Anyway, so that's that. All right. So, and that's a mapping that's right in the. Would you believe it? It's right in the XF data that's inside the photo. So you know exactly. I mean, that's where I got it. I went there again. Here it is. Any picture that you take with an iPhone, you lift up on it, and here's the EXIF, the EXIF data. And see, I put Studio 812 on there. It's now embedded in the EXIF data. So anytime that picture is opened by what I just, with any kind of software that can look at the EXIF data. See, ultra-wide camera, 13 millimeter, you can see that on your screen, 13 millimeter f2.2, which is an unbelievable lens camera system. It's a 22 megapixel picture, 7,200 pixels by 3,100 pixels. You multiply that number and you get 22 megapixels. 7217 times 3100, you can do it on your calculator. You round it, and it's 22 million dots, pixels. And the file is 5.6 megapixels with file, when you actually put it into a file, like into a Manila folder, a file. And it's a JPEG. See right there, it says JPEG, because I have it set on my iPhone. You go into camera, and you select the setting that says not HEIF. Apple wants you to use HEIF. Don't use it. Select most compatible, because that's a JPEG. All those Windows users out there, which is half the planet, doesn't recognize HEIF. So you send them an email or a text message and it won't open. What do I do? My phone isn't there. Change the settings in your iPhone to most compatible. You can go back into, you might be able to find where I show you exactly where most compatible is. I'm not going to do it today. I'll do it another day this week, so we can show you how to make sure you're taking JPEG images all the time. It was used 14 years before the iPhone was even imagined by Steve Jobs. JPEG images by the Joint Professional Engineering Group, so that images could be transmitted all through the World Wide Web, www, remember? www.com. Anyway, that's a picture I just took this morning, just to update myself, because this popped up. Whoops, not that one. This one popped up. What's Jimmy Think podcast? 2021 01/26. That's almost 6 years ago exactly. 2 days ago was the 5-year anniversary. Yeah. 5-year anniversary. That's when I just started podcasting. There's 500 or 600, episodes, or whatever you call them. Yeah. So here's what happened last night. Yeah, Mega Millions rolled over. You see rollover? Because the $285 million lottery roller from the prior week, the January 27th drawing of the $285 million Mega Millions, the numbers were 4, 20, 38, 56, 66, with the Mega Millions ball 5. I got it right there. I inserted it in the spreadsheet last night at 12:15 this morning. And the lottery officials have decided that the I don't know, they have a lot of data, because they've done this more than once. They've done it hundreds and hundreds of times, and they know between Tuesday and Friday, in January, because they have multi-year also examination, and with the activity with the ticket sales that was demonstrated up through yesterday evening, that the jackpot on January 30th, January 30th, they estimate, they don't guarantee, it could be higher, it could be lower, it could be 301, it could be 310, if everybody decides, a lot of people decide to buy tickets, that estimated jackpot will be higher than that. But on average, and they're really good at deciding what the estimated jackpot will be, because they got a lot of whiners and complainers out there that would be bitching and moaning if they won it and it wasn't somewhere around that number, within a couple of percent. Of course, a couple of percent of 300 million is, millions. 1% is 3 million. How about that? So if they miss it by 1%, then it could be 302. It could also be 304 or something in between. But anyway, they figure it'd be 303, which that's fine, you know. Who are we to? I put down there what they decide, because all the rest of this stuff is formulas and calculations. Whoops. There we go. So if there was a single winner for the 300, please turn down epidemic. Can't hear myself. Thank you. If there's a single winner at the 303 $1 million estimated jackpot, the lump sum, lump sum would be 138,500,000. God, that's a big number. Now, unfortunately, they start to prepare that check and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we have to peel off, about 33 million and give it to Uncle Sam, because that is the withholding, the 24% withholding." So if Uncle Sam gets 24%, what do you get? 76%. So 76% of 138,500,000 is 105 million. You can do it on your trusty calculator. I'm going to copy that. Let's go to my calculator just to prove it to you. Let's clear that. Paste. Allow paste. Paste it, baby. Oh well. 138,500,000. I remember. Look at all those numbers. Times 0.76. Because the withholding is 24. Well, 24 and 76 is 100. So we're going to multiply by 0.76 because that is our share. 105 million. Let's go back to our spreadsheet. Where is it? Oh, it's right there. There you go. 105,260,000. That is 76% of the 138. Because that's the estimated lump sum. Okay? Plus or minus, a couple of million, depending on actual lotto sales instead of estimated lotto sales. Because they don't actually know for certain how it's going to be like Friday, up through Friday. Is there going to be a lot of people buying it? Not so many people buying it? Up north, think about this. This 303 million is probably a little lower than it should be. One could figure that should have jumped 20 million, but it only came up, 18 million, right? It's up 18 million. And that's probably because a lot of the states that are up there being frozen out this crazy winter, they couldn't get to their favorite. There are 45 states that participate in the Mega Millions jackpot. 45 states, yeah. That might have gone up 25 million if they didn't have this terrible weather. Anyway, They assume it's 303. Jackpot 138. After the withholdings, see, now you'll get that if you win it. You get that check. Yeah. And your accountant is going to put you on notice that you owe 13% more because you will be in the 37% tax bracket. So if you're 37%, what do you get? 63%. Well, 63% of 138 million is 87,225,000. You can use your own calculator if you don't believe me, but that's okay. That's okay. I've been called worse. But that is my calculation. The lump sum after the 24% withholding will be 105. That would actually go in your checkbook because that's after the withholding. Because remember, the lump sum was 138, but you only got 105. Oh, poor baby. Well, you better put, you better put 105, 95, 85. Yeah, you better put 18 million. Just round it off. Put 20 million in the side pocket because you're going to have to pay 13% more in federal tax. So after you've paid the 37%, you're left. This is actually the balance you would have in your checkbook: $87,225,000. You can put 5,000. Put your accountant on a $5,000 annual retainer because you'll need an accountant. Or learn how to do TurboTax and see how it works. Big numbers. Wouldn't that be fun to type in that number in TurboTax and say, oh, holy crap, holy. Yeah. 5666. Oh, come on. Yeah, that's it. Tuesday, January 27th. That's it right there. Yeah, let's make that a little bigger. That is last night's lottery. 4, 20, 38, 56, 66. With the Mega Millions ball, whatever they call it. 5. The yellow ball is 5. Yep, there's the official right there. I literally did something like this and grabbed it. And that's what I grabbed right there. Yeah, that is, and then I copied it using the traditional copy and paste routine, and then put it right in the spreadsheet. Every one of these was grabbed. Let's see if I go in here and take I go to my lottery. See the Florida line? You can see it just barely. The screen's too bright. Turn the screen down so the camera is so you can just see it. Oh, there you go. Winning numbers. Mega Million. There it is. This is what I want. I'm going to substitute the balls that are in there with these balls. I like these balls better. Yeah. This is exactly how I got them. And we're going to save that into my photos. I don't know if you want to see this. So we're going to go to the top of this list. Library. There are collections. I forget which it is. Where is it? I have to get this. There we go. Recently saved. There it is, right there. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to do a little magic with that. I want to get as many pixels as possible. All right. This is how you do it, sports fans. Now you pull this down here. Pull that right down there. Pull this side over here. And now we're done with the cropping part. Save it to photos. Go back to photos. There we go. Now we're going to go into this adjust and try to let's see. Yeah, we're gonna make sure that's nice and white. Look at that, with the brilliance. Make those circles, and then come over here to black, and make that there. And then we're gonna go to the color and turn that up so that yellow ball is nice and brilliant. Look at that. Excuse me. Save it. It looks okay, so I'm going to go here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy it. Excuse me. I'll go to my numbers. Open up the lottery payout chart. Here it comes. There we go. This is the official one. And I'm going to go, whoops, too much. And I'm going to take this right here. And I have to cut this. And then I'm going to touch this and paste. No, that's not the one I want. I don't think. No. Cut it. Cut. Let's go back over here to this. Copy. Back to numbers. Paste. Allow paste. Bingo. That's it. Now, it's a little dark. See how dark it looks. Then we're going to cut that. I'm going to go back over to this one right here and edit this. Edit. I'm going to try to get this a little closer. A little closer. I'm going to, now I go adjust and come up here and turn it up a little brighter. Just, there we go. Save it. Come up here. copy it, come back to the spreadsheet, touch it right there, and paste. Allow paste. There we go. That's nice and brilliant. And now that's done. So we come back to this. We started at 100 million. See, it goes to 50. We're just going to go 100 because that all is history that we don't really care about. I have to go full screen on this. Move this over, almost all the way over. We're at 100 million. That looks good. There we go. Pull this over. See, now we got the first, second, third. We got everything. Oops, I forgot. We want to be at 100 million. There we go. And the third payment. And click the print screen because this way I don't have to deal with. I worry about my fingers. So if I do a print screen, it's like a photograph of the spreadsheet. That's perfect. Save it. Do photos. And now we're going to shut down that spreadsheet. It saves it with that new image of the balls. Now we're going to come back to, so like, you go back and forth. It can be tedious. Here is our, this is the new one. Click the heart so it's in my favorites. That's in the favorites. That should be in the favorites. There we go. Put her in there. That's our press secretary. Put Melania in there. There's me and Daniel shooting a long time ago. He sent me this picture. Is there exit data there? That's no. God, he was a little whippersnapper shooting. He's got his headphones on. He's got that gun ready. I'm standing over him, making sure that he's under control, which he is. We're going to try to slip out this afternoon after lunch and maybe run down to Gun World or whatever it's called and see if we can get some time on a range. Now this is some serious tropical weather that's going to happen maybe this weekend. It's a unusual cyclonic. It's kind of like a hurricane up north, up to a certain latitude. Up here it's cyclonic, and down here it's a hurricane. And there's all this dark blue is 80 to 100%, way below normal temperatures, all across the whole eastern seaboard. Deep freeze. I have a graphic here. So, see, look at that. You see something like this on the planet, that's Earth. You're in a polar vortex. Nah, I don't want a polar vortex. I get cold. Yeah, it's 69 in here now. I get cold just watching this. Oh my God, here's the exosphere, the thermosphere, the mesosphere, the stratosphere, and the troposphere. Yeah, you can see how many kilometers. They're brainwashing us with all this meter stuff. So, you can do the conversion if you want to know how many miles, 1,700 kilometers is a mile. 1,700, yeah, in round numbers. There's the equator, and we are in the subtropics. So when you look at this graph and you zoom in, see, we're in that lighter blue because we're in the subtropics. So we're not going to get impacted quite as much as what happens right here in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, because that's where that vortex, oh God, that hole. Don't you get chilly looking at that? That is not good when you have a vortex. What happened to global warming? What happened to that hoax? Yeah, that's another one of those party hoaxes. Yeah. Apple is reportedly going to take a little bit of a hit on margins. Even though the prices of things have gone up a bit, they're going to keep their pricing stable so that the global population will still be able to similarly afford the iPhone as they did last year, as opposed to later this year, because this year is already this year. As a matter of fact, we have only a few days left, and then it's going to be February. It's January 28th, 29, 30, 31. You only got 3 more days, and all of a sudden, Sunday, I think, is February 1st, because I have a movie date with Marilyn to go see the Melania movie documentary, just to see what it's like to follow her around for a couple hours. And you get a chance to see, Barron Trump, their 20-year-old son that's in college, in the business school, learning how to, it's amazing to be born into billions, huh? Born into billions. Yeah. It's kind of like the American version of the aristocracy that you see in England, but it's more widespread. There's quite a number of billionaires, or even half a billionaires, or if you got $200 million, you're living on top of the world, baby. You don't have any bills. The only bills you get is every month you get your American Express statement with all the places that you had lunch and dinner and breakfast and went to the store and bought X, Y, and Z. So, every month you pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of extravagances that the regular folk can't afford. There's that vortex. I told you, the Georgia, South Carolina is like the heart of this thing that started up north and circulates. You can see the circulation, and that draws that cold air down into this vortex and basically freezes your butt out. Here's another look. I think I have something. Get out of here. Nope. Let's squeeze this one. We're going to zero in on this one. And I'm looking right here. And right in the middle there, you see 29? that's what they expect the temperature to be in southeastern Palm Beach County. And over in Tampa, it's going to be 20 degrees. Ouch! 26 degrees. It's right where, 30 degrees. I mean, that's cold. Hillsborough County. There's another Hillsborough County, would you believe, spelled a little differently. One is Hillsboro. That's Bough. Hillsborough and Hillsborough. Pronounced the same, slightly different spelling on the borough. Anyway, we're Palm Beach County, right? We're right on the, come to think of it, we're down here. I'm trying to get that in the middle. We're going to be somewhere between 32 and 33 degrees. Now that's right at the freezing point. See, we're right on the line. We're like a mile away from the Broward County line. We're right where the 2 is. Right in the middle of that 2. 32. So, you go inland, it's going to get colder. 27 is the magic number, because 27 degrees is when your citrus trees start to freeze. And that, you don't want that to happen. Because if you have a grove full of orange trees, you got to make sure those suckers, don't get below 28 degrees. So they have like sprinkler systems that pump water out of the canals, which that water would, be at like 40 degrees. So you're going to spray 40-degree water into the atmosphere in effort to increase the temperature of the groves. And they have all these sprinklers all over the place. And that's not only to water the trees, the grove, which you protect. I mean, they're like your babies, they grow year after year and get more mature and produce more oranges. And, the oranges are picked and then delivered into the orange business and create orange juice for the rest of the planet. Yeah. And Palm Beach County has plenty of orange groves. And you go up through the center part of the state, and the frost line goes right through Lake Okeechobee, that thing in the middle. And there's like a diagonal line. And you can see 28 there, and it's 28, 29 there. So, and everything below that is safe. You see it's 30, 32 degrees, 31 degrees. Now it's right at the freezing point of water, but not at the freezing point of the fluids that are inside of a orange tree. My friend Wilbur Brantley, who owns, groves all over Pinellas and Hillsborough County, he says 28 degrees is the magic number. Keep those trees above 28 degrees. It's like a little poetry. Keep those trees above 28 degrees. Because 27 degrees is not good for a citrus tree. You got like a percentage of them die, freeze, burst, the trunks burst and it's a dead duck. It won't survive. So that's why they have all these sprinklers. And man, I'll tell you what, let's see, this is a forecast for Sunday, February 1st. You see in the top here, the 6-day forecast, but Sunday, February 1, this is when they expect this vortex to affect South Florida. And as you go up, I mean, look at this up. There's all kinds of orange grows all up through the state. Look, 23 degrees, 22 degrees. This could be a serious citrus destruction vortex. Avocado trees up and around in there. And oh my God, 22 degrees all over. God, everything from Orlando north. That's Orlando. That little circular in the middle of the screen there. So I thought I'd show all you people this. Whoops, there's another. This is the minimum 6-hour forecast. Look at that. Look at it, 12, 10. Look at all, I mean, my God, 11 degrees. You can follow the train right up to the East Coast. You know, oh my God. It's 11, 12 degrees. I mean, we're talking serious. Wow. Don't you get cold just thinking of that? I got goosebumps on my back just talking about this. Holy mackerel. Look at this. 19, 20, 20, all this. This should be 40 degrees, not 20. And then, you know, up in the Milwaukee area. Whoops. Oops. Bigger. Bigger, please. There we go. Reverse pinch. Yeah, Milwaukee area. Well, this doesn't go up that high. We get to Tennessee. 10 degrees, 8 degrees, 7, 8, 9, 10 in Tennessee. It's an alliteration almost. An alliteration. Yeah. 53 degrees in Key West. That's pretty cold for something that's in the subtropics. And we're going to be like 30, somewhere between 29 and 31 degrees. Right in there. As we show here. Here it shows on the beach area 32 to 33 degrees. And this map is a little more general, but covers the states above. Oops, right in the middle where that whole vortex is, that nasty, that terminology. This gives you a better, more sweeping idea, whoops, of the system coming down and swerving and then up into you can see that whole vortex creation. There you go. With the eye of the vortex right on that Georgia, South Carolina border. Yep, there's the center of that. Hotlanta is not going to be so hot. It's going to be, they're going to have winds coming out of it's supposed to be very strong winds. We haven't gotten to that part of the story. Really high winds. Very high winds. 40 degree, 40 mile an hour, 50 mile an hour winds out of the north. That's how you get that cold air, because it's high speed winds pushing the cold air down. And that circulates and creates a vortex. Yep. I found my doxycycline. Take a little antibiotic and a prednisone. Clear up this cough. Those 2 pills are like magic. Yeah. I used to go to the hospital all the time. And I finally got my primary care doctor. I mean, not that they're resistant, but you know, you gotta talk to these folks. They have lots of patience and patience, both kinds of. They're patient with their patients. And I'm a talker, you know, and I'm just smart enough to be dangerous, even when we're talking about Noah and all this stuff. So pay attention to the weather, your weather people that you pay attention to. The Fox weather people are really quite good at it, but there are plenty of meteorologists, students of meteorology. The weather people that tell you the weather are generally they're meteorologists that graduated with a degree in, in meteorology. I have friends that know things about meteorology, and they explain it to me. But I pay attention, so I've learned to be able to look at these charts and see the low pressure that's going to be created, and the high pressure and the low pressure. You wanted to change the topic real fast. Explanations. Oops. We need to communicate. Sorry for the. I don't know what's going on here with my touch screen. But look at that. Communicating about quantum physics. What's this quantum business? You know what? I read 3 or 4 articles, and they don't tell you. It's like, oh, you have to really understand this, and they talk about how it could be their development and then blah, 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 but they don't say what the hell it is. Say, come on, guys, let's get on to what is it? I went through like 6 pages of what you're looking at here, and they always have these kinds of pictures about quantum because it's physics, the physical world, and the quantum mechanics dealing with the physical world. Well, what the hell is that? It's fancy math. It has to do with quantum mechanics, and it deals in the world of mathematics. Back, 60 years ago, when I was 20 years, he just barely touched on quantum things. I mean, it was like exotic math. It's not so exotic anymore. 60 years later, they're actually dealing with a lot of this quantum mechanics. And it was very helpful in getting into fission, nuclear fission reactors instead of, fusion reactors and fission reactors. One uses energy and one creates, or one uses, molecular energy, and it, like burns it up in a sense, and you have, nuclear rods that have to be replaced, and then you got to deal with the nuclear waste. But these other kind of reactors, the atoms split and creates energy, and you don't have this nuclear waste like you have with most of the current day reactors. We have a couple of these reactors that are operating in the United States. Reactors that it actually creates a couple of molecules instead of destroying them, in a sense. And the result is energy. So you can look up the difference between nuclear fusion and nuclear fission, 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 nuclear fission, like you're out there in the lake fishing. No, we're talking about quantum mechanics. We're not talking about fish. But nuclear fission is a real thing. And nuclear fusion is another thing. Both of that nuclear activity create energy, but one creates nuclear waste and the other does not. And the reactor is like a perpetual motion reactor in a sense, because once you get it started, it keeps going and it operates. It like operates all by itself. Now you control it. It creates heat. The idea is this nuclear business creates heat, and then the heat creates heat, and it can get carried away. So you have to absorb the heat with circulating flows of water, if you will, or ethylene glycol in water, which is a chemical that's used in, it's pink, would you believe? And you add it to water, and it's useful in radiators and cars that are floating around in the cold weather up there where you guys are, most of you. And it keeps your radiator, it makes your radiator work real good. And it also keeps the fluid in your radiator from freezing. And ethylene glycol used to be poured in the Hudson River as an excrement for some other things that were being made. And that was the byproduct that they threw away. They didn't, it was just like waste. So they dumped it into the Hudson River. And downstream, they noticed that the Hudson River was not frozen. But above this certain point where they were dumping this ethylene glycol, it was frozen like crazy. And below where this pipe was leading into the Hudson River, as this factory was dumping its waste product, it was permitted, they had permits to do it. And you go downstream and the Hudson River was not frozen. So they took a sample of this stuff that was coming out of the pipe, and it turns out it's ethylene glycol. And they said, oh my gosh, it prevents things from freezing. Well, where would that be? A good place for that would be in radiators that are in the front of cars. And when you turn off the engine, the radiator has fluid in it. And if it has ethylene glycol in it, mixed with the water that's in the radiator, like a 80-20 mix, 20% ethylene glycol. You mix it to whatever percentage you need to keep your engine block from freezing, or the radiator much less, because that's $1,000 item to fix that. And if it gets frozen, forget it. You just take it off and buy another one. So you use $1,200 and $600 to do it. So a couple of K later, when your radiator gets frozen. So that's why you pour ethylene glycol in there. It's called antifreeze. The common name, antifreeze. Can you imagine? That's what they have written all over these jugs by the gallon. Pour it right in your radiator. It's already pre-mixed to the proper concentration. And you just pour that in, fill it up with buy a couple of gallons of that. Pour it in your whole radiator thing. Make sure all the valves are closed so you don't have it leaking all over your driveway or your garage. Put the cap back on your radiator after you put your ethylene glycol in there. Turn your engine on, mix that all around, and you won't have any freezing of your, you get down below 10 degrees, then you have to maybe add a little more ethylene glycol just to increase the percentage. and then mix that around in your management block, run the car for 5 minutes, and mix that all around, and now you have to have a different grip on that, because you've added some ingredients. You've added that. That's why that's all packed into that shoulder my bag, and then she can just either plug it into the plumbing down here. She can go upstairs to her meetings and get her phone updated with, the technology that has been discussed. Yepper. There's my ticket. 2 tickets, G10 and 11. Sidmark, February 1 at 11 o'clock in the morning. We're going to watch this documentary called Melania. She wrote a book. She wrote a book called Melania, which is in publication. And if you find bookstores or online, you can buy the book. It's like a cocktail table book. It's a big book. It's the same exact dimension as Trump's books, but it's black with the white Melania, the white lettering on a jet black cover. Yeah. So we'll see how Marilyn likes Melania. She's a highly educated, smart woman. She created some nice, smart offspring. And Trump is no dummy himself. He is a multi-billionaire, and he's been elected president twice. Good for the American public. He's a tough guy. He's not Mr. Happy. He's poking and prodding and get this done and get that done, and he's a taskmaster. To be in his good graces is an accomplishment, because he's very selective. If you're a chump, you're out. He doesn't surround himself with losers. He surrounds himself with talented, strong people. And he's got an extreme amount of respect recently for Rubio. Rubio he's a tough cookie. And he knows his, pardon the expression, he knows his shit. I mean, he was, in these intelligence committee, in the Senate. He was a senator for 8 or 10 years, there's only 2 senators in the state of Florida. All these big states with all these huge populations, Florida's got, 22 million people in it? There's only 2 senators. And Rubio was one of them. And Trump plucked him out of that and gave him an opportunity to be Secretary of State of the United States of America. That's like the 3rd biggest job in the United States government, because you got the president, the vice president, and then Secretary of State. And after that comes the Secretary of Defense, or the Secretary of War. So Rubio is 54 years old, and he's where he travels all around with the 79-year-old president, his boss. He works at the pleasure of the president. That is the official language of the Constitution. And if you're at the displeasure of the president, you're going to be out. And he's got staffs of people that, if something happens to Rubio, either because Trump wants someone else, or Rubio, can't fulfill the job anymore for some reason, gets sick, gets shot, drops dead, whatever can happen to somebody that's exposed to all these threats. Let's hope he survives all that. Because he's highly involved in a lot of things that are going on all over the world. He's got several 100,000 people working for him. He has not the largest payroll. I think the Secretary of Defense has upwards of 800,000 troops. So he's got more, bodies. But the State Department has, a lot of high-level, highly educated people in the State Department. Because, you got all these State Department offices, these embassies all over the planet, major countries all over the place. And those staffs report up through the chain of command structure of the Secretary of State office. My daughter was actually confidentially, I'm telling the whole frickin' planet, whoever hears this, she was actually being considered for working with Rubio. It didn't happen for an unknown reason, but she was investigated as one of the possible people to work in the Rubio, administration, but working with Rubio directly, advising him on things. I'll just put it that way. So hats off for Robin that she was even considered for such a thing. She couldn't tell me much more about it. It was top secret. So I don't know anything, so I know pretty much, I know just a slight bit more than what I just said, but not much more. It was a specialty advisory role, but they had hired her right into the State Department. She has the security clearance. They would have upgraded it to even a higher security clearance. Her security clearance has expired. After 7 years, it expires. So then you got to go through the FBI bit and get updated. It's kind of like having an expired driver's license. So you go in, you don't take tests, but the FBI investigates you to make sure that you're as safe as you were 7 years ago. All right. It's almost 10:30. In 2 seconds, it'll be 10:30. That was quick. There, you can see 10:30, 05, 6, 7. You see it right over there. You see right here. That is the elapsed time meter, and that tells me and everyone else how long I've been talking. And in this episode, I've been talking 1 hour and 24 minutes and 30 seconds. I started at like 9:05, almost on the button. I logged right into YouTube Live. I'm encouraging all my Facebook friends to come over here to YouTube. I know Facebook has gotten flaky, and I haven't been able to really, figure out what the hell's going on with Facebook. Well, I started out with Facebook Live, and now I can't get my signal to stay up, so I've kind of given up on Facebook with this broadcast. I put a blast out there, 30 minutes before I go on air, telling him to come to Facebook, telling him to come over to YouTube. And you can go to YouTube, Uh, right here on this page, let's see, I'll pull down where you get that little help thing. You take your finger and do not put it on the icon. Put it like between the icons. Just touch your touch screen. Whoops, we're not going to edit it. Everything started to jiggle. Like, no. You just touch it and pull down a little bit and see, and you get that search screen opens up, and just type YOUTUBE. See, look at that. Your YouTube thing shows, and you want the app, YouTube app. I don't know. I don't seem to have the app. Let's do it another way. Let's go to my app store. There it is. And I'm going to touch the little magnifying glass that's up there. You know it. Oops, what the heck's that? Gosh. Where's my search results? Oh, right here. So touch the magnifying glass right there. And then type right in there. You touch that open window. YouTube. YOU. There, it's top on the list. YouTube. Touch it. This is all touchscreen stuff. You see the result on the upper right one. That's the YouTube app. I have it somewhere on my system. So instead of hunting for it, I just went there, open it. But let's touch on it, and you can see there's YouTube. You can see it says update. That's why I did that. So I get that update window. I'm going to do a print screen on that to remind everybody tomorrow to get the update. You can read about what the update contains, but let's just make this picture file. Hit the check mark up above and say save to photos. There you go. But going back to this, I'm going to now update. I touch the blue word update, put my finger right on it and touch it. And now it's updating. It's getting the latest, version of YouTube. It came out 2 days ago. You see that version 21.0. whatever. But 2 days ago they updated the app. It's finalizing it. There we go. The circle is almost complete. Now it's ready to open. Now I press open. And I've got the latest version of YouTube live and in color. And Taylor Swift announces she's pregnant. Well, hopefully she's pregnant with her. that puts a wrinkle in the sheets, so to speak. So I got all these podcasts. Let's do podcasts. Home. I'm going to hit the home button here. Home. Subscriptions. I'm going to touch that. There we go. Brighter with Herbert. I'm going to press that one. These are all his recent podcasts, or things that have to do with Tesla and SpaceX a little bit. Let me pull this over a little bit. There we go. And bring this. Yeah, so you can see what I see. Why is it? Yeah. What's a bigger window? Yeah, I don't know how to get it smaller. touching the wrong part of it. There we go. And then bring it over so you can see what's on the left side there. There we go. I can go a little wider. There we go. So brighter, this is top of my list. I'm very interested in, there we go, his articles. You see the red line across, that means I've seen those already. Watched them. And then you can, you press one of these and today is earnings day. So everyone's all nervous. Let's see what's going on with the Dow. Tesla's up a little bit. I left that on the wrong. Let's switch and go to the stock market and see what's happening. Tesla stock is up $1. That's nothing. And then it's come right back down again. You can see the chart. This is the one-day chart. How do we get to a one-day chart? There we go. There's the day. So it jumped up to 435, and it's like that. So I'm not a financial advisor, but I can tell you the one thing I don't like. You see that 295, the price earnings ratio of 295. That's crazy high. I mean that's looking. You have all these forward projections that go past 2 and 3 years, and the retail investors are buying it. They're propping up the stock. That's what I would call that. And it's, there we go, just covering it right there. We've got about as much as you can get on that. Yeah, so you got lots of red, and red means the stock is going down. The market's early. It's the first hour of the stock market. A little past the first hour, 9:30 to 10:40, so it's an hour and 10 minutes. This doesn't update. This is delayed signals I have here. I don't have an account that gives you the instantaneous. You got to pay, 100, 150 a month to have that kind of connectivity. I'm not in that business, so I'm not going to pay a couple $1,000 a year to get up to the second stock market. Yeah. 10 minutes delay, 20 minutes delay, that's fine. That works for me. Now Tesla's, it shows here it's up 3 hours. I think that's, let's see, that's 0.78%. Yeah, 3 hours. If it's up 4 hours, that's 1%. That's 3 hours and a little bit. So, whoops. Now it's down 4. Someone's not happy. What the hell's going on here? A lot of volatility. Tesla sure has its share of volatility. Alright, let's turn that off. Let's see what pops up here. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of volatility with, with the stock exchange. Because there's a lot of risk and volatility with the world, quite frankly. And anything that Tesla does that has anything to do with our administration, oh my God, the investors go crazy when he starts to talk to a Republican, God forbid. You need to get the politics out of these things. Trump is actually not a politician. He's a fixer. He gets in there and he fixes shit. Pardon the expression. And if the Democrats, were to give him support, then he'd run with the Democrats. He wants to be in office, and he wants to fix obvious things that are broken, like the border. You can't let in 10 million people. Can you imagine another 4 years and another 10 million? That would kill the country. That would actually put our country in bankruptcy. Because you can't feed and provide health care for tens of millions of people. We're trying to struggle along, if you will, to provide health care to the American citizens. You add another 10 million people, and half of them need health care almost day one, you bankrupt the health industry. Because they go to the hospital, they get treated. These people are beating up our people, or beating up themselves. They end up in a hospital as beaten up. Well, they get fixed. Well, who the hell do you think pays the bill? The hospitals don't get paid because they don't have insurance and they don't have any money that they're willing to hand to the hospital for their health care. So they just say, screw it. The hospital gets stuck with their own bill, and they send it up to the U.S. government to reimburse them. And that's what happens with, illegal immigrants. You call them whatever the hell you want, undocumented. You can call them daisies. Whatever the hell you want to call them, it doesn't matter. But that bill gets paid goes into the Treasury Department as a bill that has to get paid. Because these hospitals can't suck up those losses. So they send the bill right up. So, the hospitals can't deny them health care. I don't know where that provision is. That's interpretation under current law. We can tighten up the laws, but Congress needs to tighten up the laws if they want to tighten up the laws. I don't know if everybody wants to do that. You need 51% of the people that may want to do that. I don't know what the popularity is of working on that type of legislation. I have no clue. I don't think they even want to talk about it. It's too sensitive a topic. People start throwing pies at each other. Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. That's what's going on with that. it's the numbers aren't good. They released the numbers at like 4 o'clock after the stock market closes. So at 4:35, you'll see the the releasing of the forms they file with the government. Whoosh, they push that button. It makes it in a public record, and everyone gets it, and then they start talking about it. So you have accountants that talk about it, you have news people that talk about it, real news people, then you have opinion shows that have opinions about what happens with the press release that happens this afternoon. Yeah. And then you got all the stock traders that are wondering what's going to happen after this news actually becomes public, instead of just wondering if it really is going to be that bad, or whether it's not as bad as we thought it was going to be, or worse than, that's all the speculation that's going on right now. Because they can't talk. If they talk, they go to jail. Positively or negatively. This is high up officials within these organizations that are getting ready to release their financial results. I go back to my pictures. January 28th, that's where we're at. I'm an hour and 42 minutes into my conversation, and I'm about to, go full screen on what's going on here. There we go. We need to get my control panel where I can see what's going on. There we go. Hope you have a good afternoon, and see you tomorrow morning. Hopefully about 9:05. Bye-bye.